Your 401k just fell out of a coconut tree. Recession fears are mounting after the Dow took a dive, tumbling 1,000 points at the closing. Team Kamala trying to spin the economic bloodbath as the fault of the orange man, or spoke, saying, quote, Trump failed Americans as prez, costing our economy millions of jobs and bringing us to the brink of recession. But Donald sums it up better, asking Americans if they'd rather have Trump cash or Kamala crash. If Harris' past statements on the economy are any indication, we are screwed.
Bread costs more, the gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry.
It is. She's not drunk. Jesse? And today's economic carnage might just be an appetizer to what a President Harris could unleash. Trump is giving America its fair warning.
Kamala, the California socialist, you know, she destroyed San Francisco. Then she destroyed the whole state. Her policies of open borders and double-digit inflation, inflation like we've never seen before. It's destroying middle-income families, working families, all families. We're going to evict this radical and incompetent administration from the White House. They're destroying our country. We're going to save our country.
All right, Katie. So Harold in the previous block made a good point. That they should be asking Kamala Harris to explain things.
Yes, I did hear him say that.
And I think that is actually something that the debate moderators won't do. But yeah, she cannot explain the economy, but she can blame Trump for it. Somebody has to ask her, why do you think Trump's to blame? He's not president. Why? Tell us why. Well, they're trying to do the anybody but Trump thing, and that's why they should push her into office. But let's rewind the clock a little bit. A year ago this summer, the GDP dropped below 2%, which used to be one of the definitions of a recession. The White House went to the podium with Karine Jean-Pierre and said, no, we're not in a recession. We're redefining the term recession. Wikipedia then followed suit and did the same. So this has been coming. A lot of these factors have been in the works for a while in terms of the overspending by the government, inflation, lack of spending from consumers. And so now we're seeing this crash on Wall Street and a correction happening. You're seeing Kamala Harris try to distance herself from Bidenomics while also taking advantage of it as success. So if you go to the White House website and you search Bidenomics, it says the Biden-Harris administration. So she is responsible, and they particularly branded it so she could take credit for the lead up to what we're seeing today and what we're going to be seeing over the course of the next couple of months. So everything that and her solutions in terms of the election, she offers a government program. She offers more spending, which caused this problem. So Americans need to remember that when she offers more student loan bailouts, more government programs, more Green New Deal spending, that's just going to cause more pain for the average American. On the other hand, Donald Trump is winning on the election, especially in the swing states, because he has an actual vision for the future, one that she has not laid out herself. You know, Harold, as you know, I'm a financial expert. And we were talking about the stock market. It's, you know, as a proportion, it's not a huge drop, and it could be perceived as a correction, and corrections happen in the summertime, Harold. Am I downplaying this? And should I agree with you that it is Harris's fault?
So just to put some of this in perspective, and you're right, you're largely right. This is the July and August are challenging months sometimes for the stock market. I think today a number of factors I would add on to something to Katie's points. I don't know if I agree with all of what Katie said, but there's certainly those elements are there. But one of the things one of the things that many investors are concerned about is that a lot of these companies are overspending on artificial intelligence, and that some of the companies' valuations have gone up over the last several months because of people's exuberance about that. But to give you a sense, when Donald Trump left office, the day he left office, the Dow was at 30,930. Do me a little favor, look up what the Dow closed today. The S&P 500 was at 3,798. I say this only to say that we are blessed to live in a country that if you invest in our companies, you believe in markets, that, it's one of the great things. Warren Buffett says it all the time, that never bet against America. So the economy has certainly grown. The stock market has grown. Now, the question becomes, I think, for presidential candidates in this election is, how much of a correlation is there between the growth of the stock market, the S&P and the Dow, NASDAQ, and all of those barometers, and what everyday Americans are doing? Is your 401k better? Are you able to pay your bills? You're more comfortable paying your bills. You feel like the next 6 months are going to be good. These are questions that I think in this presidential race are the most important questions that voters will face. But fortunately, things grow. Under President Biden, we've created 15 million new jobs. Not that we're going to be critical. Well, we can say what we want to say, but those are, under President Trump, we lost
But you can't say it with a straight face.
I can definitely say it with a straight face.
You're conveniently leaving out the most important story,
What's that?
COVID, which have affected the stock market and also the jobs.
Can I ask you a question? You blame President Biden for inflation. Now, it would be stupid of me to blame President Trump for COVID because it happened on his watch. I wouldn't be that stupid to do that. I think that COVID happened, and he tried his hardest to deal with it, and inflation happened because of COVID. And President Biden has tried his hard to combat that.
No, he hasn't, though. He's spent trillions of dollars.
The first $3 trillion was spent by the first $3 trillion was spent under Trump.
You're not counting the Inflation Reduction Act, Harold.
I am.
That was just trillions in new spending,
and the
they changed the name of
Rescue
it.
Plan.
But the first $3 trillion under Trump was fine. I just want to make sure I get
They
that
all
right.
had
Look
to
at the
spend a
graph.
ton of money.
If you look at
But
the
he didn't have
graph
to
of when
spend that
inflation went
much.
up.
Do you know that if Trump had not done that spending plan, what would he have been called by the Democrats? Right?
I supported it, but you can't then support it and then complain about it.
They both spent a lot of money, Harold. Everybody knows that. But they also raided the Treasury and handed it out to corporations and inflated this big AI bubble that's about to pop. And then they brought in 10 million new consumers from foreign countries that are spending like crazy and declared a war on energy. Now everybody's credit cards maxed out. They're taking second jobs because they can't afford it. And if Bidenomics blows up before the election, that is like an Olympic gymnast falling off the beam. The stakes are that high, Harold.
Wow.
There is no daylight between Kamala and Joe Biden on the economy. She can't talk about it. She's an economic illiterate that's just controlled by the donors. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
If I were Trump, I'd want to debate her to expose that. And two, if I didn't know any better, you sound like Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Oh.
He is black, Harold.
Okay, just last week, Biden claimed that he cured the economy, and that's what his legacy should be. And even Kamala talks about the fact that Bidenomics is working. Bidenomics is working. I've got it at 23, July, August, 23. Bidenomics is working. This is all Kamala Harris. Don't tell me she's not a part of it. She's promoting Bidenomics. And when they asked her whether or not Biden's spending, and by the way, she broke the tie vote with the American Rescue Plan, and within 1 month, the inflation went up. I think it was 1.4%. Oh, it was under 3 for 111 months straight. They signed the American Rescue Plan. Inflation in 1 month went up to 4.2%. But she's asked whether or not Biden's spending is going to create problems. And she said, well, prices have gone up, bread costs more, but we have to understand what that means. Gas costs more, and we take it very seriously, very seriously, very seriously. That's her answer. Okay? And at the end of the day, what they want to do, they want to double the capital gains tax. They want to re-regulate everything that Trump deregulated. And she wants to tax unrealized capital gains. I mean, forget it. They don't have anything to do with a successful economy, and that's why people don't trust them.
Can I say one more thing quickly?
Quickly.
Donald Trump just went and spoke at a huge crypto conference.
Right.
I would love Kamala Harris to A, state her position on crypto, or B, explain what it is.
For the record, he was against crypto when he was in office, and
Well,
he
he's
changed
not
it. We
anymore.
gave him the space to change it.
Well, at least he knows what it is.
Well, that's different than fracking. I mean, you're either an environmentalist who is against it, or, you support the people in Pennsylvania.
Let me write that down so I make sure I understand.
Trump understands crypto. Biden lives in a crypto. Ahead, the debate over the debates. Trump and Harris squabble over their summer showdown.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.